because things are heating up between China and Taiwan, just as U.S. forces are here in the country for military exercises, and new sites have been made available to them under the umbrella of the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, or EDCA. And also, just as an alliance between Australia, the United Kingdom, and the United States, supposed to ensure stability in the Indo-Pacific region, got a big boost from Australia's announcement it's acquiring nuclear-powered submarines from the U.S. It didn't help that China's ambassador to Manila had some choice words.
China-Philippine friendship have lasted for centuries, if not millenniums, and those friendships should be cherished. And we believe that the future will count on the younger generation.
The Chinese embassy says Wang was misquoted, but President Marcos thinking perhaps something got lost in translation. Either way, Mr. Marcos says he'll get to speak to the ambassador soon.
I think there must have been an element of yung lost in translation. It's not his English is not his first language, but I'm very interested to know what it is that he meant. I interpret it as him trying to say that Philippines do not provoke or intensify the tensions because it will impact badly on the Filipinos. Well, that's how I take it. But I will be talking to the ambassador soon, and I'm sure he will be very anxious to to give his own interpretation of what he was trying to say.
Good evening, I'm Pia Hontiveros. Welcome to your weekly political appointment fix, politics as usual. We're going to make a correction right there. The soundbite that we were supposed to use of the Chinese ambassador to the Philippines, Wang Xilian, was when he talked about the 150,000 plus OFWs, overseas Filipino workers in Taiwan, in the context of what is going on with the U.S. forces here and EDCA sites. In the meantime, the Philippine government earlier welcomed the trilateral security deal of Australia, the United Kingdom, and the United States to help achieve peace in the Indo-Pacific region. Australia says it will be acquiring a number of nuclear-powered submarines from the U.S. in the next couple of years. Some experts believe is a bid to counter China's military plans in the region. Our first guest tonight, Australian ambassador to the Philippines, Hae Kyung-Yu. Ambassador HK, thank you very much for being with us tonight. On March 13, let's begin with this. The spokesman of China's Foreign Ministry, Wang Wenbin, said that the AUKUS partners had, and we quote, completely ignored the concerns of the international community and gone further down a wrong and dangerous road. And he said, and he added, the deal would, quote, stimulate an arms race and undermine the international nuclear non-proliferation system and damage regional peace and stability. Ambassador, did the spokesman get things right or did he get it wrong?
The spokesman definitely got it wrong, Pia. And by the way, nice to see you again. We've always made it clear that Australia will be acquiring a nuclear-powered submarines and that the Australian government has absolutely no intention of having nuclear weapons on those submarines. And I think we all know why Australia has gone down this path of enhancing our defence capabilities. It is so that we can actually become even a better defence partners for countries like the Philippines and other countries in the region. Because the fact is, our region is being reshaped. And against this deteriorating strategic environment, this AUKUS deal is one of many responses that Australia will be taking as a responsible member of this region.
And as far as Australia is concerned, ma'am, who is responsible for this deteriorating security environment?
That actually is as a result of many factors as we know it. And I think the Philippines is one of those countries that's seeing that. We are seeing countries really breaking international law, whether it's Russia invading Ukraine or closer to our region. And it's in lots of those factors that's coming together to make our strategic environment a lot more challenging. And I think there will be no one out there that will actually disagree with that with my statement.
It is interesting. It's noteworthy when you say that these are nuclear-powered submarines. There will be no, at any time, nuclear weapons on board these submarines. But perhaps what Beijing is also reacting to is the mere fact that the UK, Australia, and the US are getting together and have this trilateral security pact. So it doesn't matter for them. As long as they see countries coming together, allies, then perhaps they perceive this as a threat to them.
Well, I think there's a little bit of misunderstanding about what this AUKUS pact really represents. I mean, its number one priority is to actually help Australia attain nuclear-powered submarines. And in order to do that, we have actually announced what our optimal pathway will be to acquiring nuclear-powered submarines, which is to use US technology, but UK technology as well, to put together what we are referring to as AUKUS submarines, if you like. And I think, every country is entitled to increase their defense capabilities in whatever way they see fit, with it, in accordance with their national interests. And what Australia and AUKUS members have done is actually do exactly that, but in the most transparent way. So China talks about the concerns of nuclear proliferation. But since the announcement of this agreement, we have engaged IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency, right from word go. And more recently, the Director General of IAEA stated that he was confident that the approach that we will be taking to this will be in line with the rules and regulations and expectations of non-proliferation. Australia is one of those countries. We actually have squeaky clean performance and commitment to non-proliferation. So we are all about transparency. We are all about doing it in the most safe and most responsible way. So I think really that says it all, Pia, that we are doing it in a way that is very responsible and completely transparent.
I like how you say squeaky clean, Ambassador. A while ago you said, and I paraphrase, AUKUS will help, and Australia's position now will help it become a better defense partner to its allies, like, for example, the Philippines. So the question here is, how exactly is AUKUS going to impact on the Philippines, for example? How are we going to benefit from this? Right now, what we have are incursions into the West Philippine Sea. We have China berating or reminding the Philippines about our Filipino workers, overseas Filipino workers in Taiwan. So how is this going to benefit us?
Thank you for your question, Pia. When our Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Defense visited Manila in February, both the Deputy Prime Minister and Secretary Galvez held a joint press conference at the time. And they talked about how countries, like-minded countries, partners and friends like the Philippines and Australia, have the responsibility to bring to the table our capabilities and our assets in collective defense and security, that we are responsible to work together to ensure collective defense and security. That's what this is all about, Pia. By us having nuclear-powered submarines, of course it means our defense capability will increase, thereby providing better deterrence effect. Just as the Philippines is going through a major modernization of its military forces, which will also help the broader regional security and stability. So it's in that, from that perspective, that we believe with our increase in our defense capabilities, we will be able to be a better defense partner for our friends in the region.
Ambassador, if you look at the world map, and I want the viewers watching right now to look at a map and then to place themselves in China and then look downwards. No, is it possible that if you were Beijing and you're looking out from your shores and you see Taiwan, Japan, the Philippines, is it possible that they feel surrounded, or are they just being paranoid?
Look, I think, that's a very good question, but I think all those countries have made it very clear, certainly from Australian government's perspective, we have made our positions very clear around Taiwan, that we support status quo, that we do not want conflict, that we want to live in a region where it is stable, it is secure, it is prosperous, and it's respectful of international law and sovereignty. So as long as China adheres to that and supports that and embraces that, I think there is no reason for China to feel any other way than to be a really significant and important member of this region for our future prosperity.
And China will have nothing to worry about. Madam Ambassador, you're still going to be joining us in the next part of the show. Please stay right there. We'll be back after a quick break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. This is Politics as Usual. Still with us, the Australia's ambassador to the Philippines, Hae Kyong, or HKU, and also joining us a little later on the show, Silvestre Bebot Bello, who is the Manila Economic and Cultural Officer, MECO Chairman and Resident Representative. Ambassador HK, we have new EDCA sites in Isabela and Basilan. And at the same time, U.S. forces are here for one of the biggest military exercises, as far as we're concerned, Balikatan. There are so many fears that they could become magnets if trouble were to break out between China and Taiwan. How does Australia read the situation? But before you answer that, ma'am, I wanted to show everyone that portion of the interview of China's ambassador to the Philippines, Wang Xilian, where he spoke about Filipino workers in Taiwan. Let's roll that.
Obviously, the U.S. intends to take advantage of the new EDCA sites to interfere in the situation across the Taiwan Strait to serve its geopolitical goals and advance its anti-China agenda at the expense of peace and development of the Philippines and the region at large. The Philippines is advised to unequivocally oppose Taiwan independence rather than stoking the fire by offering the U.S. access to the military bases near the Taiwan Strait, if you care about the 150,000 overseas foreign workers.
So, Ambassador HK, what does Australia think about this? How do you read this situation?
Well, of course, Australia is also participating in Balikatan. And we have around 100 military personnel joining this exercise. And this is all in line with what our Deputy Prime Minister and Defence Minister said when he was in Manila, that when you actually live in a region and you are working with friends and partners who share the same values, who want to live in a region where sovereignty and international law are respected, that of course it's only natural for partners to want to continue to cooperate, and deepen our interoperability and deepen our joint exercises. That's exactly what's happening. And I think it's only natural. And these exercises have been happening for many, many years. And, you know, the US and the Philippines have been doing Balikatan for many years, and Australia has been taking part in that for many years. So I think, you know, these are things that partners and friends do naturally. And of course, the US and the Philippines are allies, as are Australia and the US. So this is, I think, from our perspective, very, very good development. And certainly our leaders made it very clear that we look to further enhance a defense and security cooperation between our two countries.
And how do you look at the statement made by Ambassador Wang Xilian and President Marcos's interpretation of what the ambassador said?
Yes, actually, Pia, I have been following that very, very closely. And I guess as the Australian ambassador to the Philippines, what I can say is that Australian government is absolutely committed to supporting the Philippines to achieve a stable and peaceful region where international law and sovereignty are respected.
Ambassador HKU, please stay until the end of the show. We're going to speak very briefly first to MECO Representative Bebot Bello. Ambassador HK, we'll see you in the next segment of the show. Meantime, President Marcos, of course, ordering the Foreign Affairs Department to ensure the safety of OFWs in Taiwan in the wake of China's threat to attack the self-governing democracy. We're speaking now to MECO Chairman and Resident Representative Silvestre Bebot Bello. Sir, magandang gabi po sa inyo. Secretary Bello? Okay, I think we lost that line to Secretary Bebot Bello. All right, we're going to try and get him back. Of course, we just showed you that portion of the speech, sorry, not interview, but speech of Ambassador Wang Xilian of China, where he said, and I quote, hold on, the Philippines is advised to unequivocally oppose Taiwan independence rather than stoking the fire by offering the U.S. access to military bases near the Taiwan Strait if you care genuinely about the 150,000 OFWs. Of course, Secretary Bebot Bello had already said the number is more in the vicinity of about 200,000, and that's including undocumented Filipino workers in Taiwan. We're going to take a very quick break. We're going to try and get Silvestre Bello on the line again. More from our guests when we return. This is Politics as Usual. You're still on Politics as Usual while we're waiting to get that line, the communication line to Secretary Bebot Bello in Taiwan. We're going to speak first to Ambassador HKU, Australia's ambassador to the Philippines. Ma'am, I wanted to ask you about this strategic partnership plan of the Philippines and Australia. Can you tell us more about that?
Of course, very happily, Pia. We already are comprehensive partners, but we are working towards elevating that relationship to one of a strategic partnership this year. And we are expecting this partnership to be signed by our leaders, hopefully before the end of the year. What this actually means is exactly as the word suggests, strategic in nature of our partnership. Australia and the Philippine relationship is very deep and very long-standing, as you know. So our relationship have always been really multifaceted, covering across not only defense and security cooperation, which we have been talking about a lot tonight, but also development. where Australia's aid program for the Philippines is Australia's 5th largest in the world. And we are the Philippines' 2nd largest donor country as well, or grant country, I should say. And we take that relationship very seriously, where we have always worked with the Philippines as equal partners in coming up with solutions and economic growth agendas for the Philippines. The third element of our relationship is trade and investment. And we have a fairly strong basis to start with, but we believe there is so much more we can do in this space. And then all of these is supported by very strong people-to-people links, where we have 400,000 Filipino heritage people calling Australia home today. That is our 5th largest diaspora in Australia. So as you can see, it is truly comprehensive in nature. What we are trying to do with strategic partnership is now to reflect how our relationship has matured over the years, and we have become real, true strategic partners in all those elements, all those pillars of our cooperation, and actually set ourselves even a bigger and more ambitious goals of doing more together, not just for bilateral benefits, because that goes without saying, but also with regional security, stability, and prosperity in mind.
When you say to do more, for example, ma'am, there's mining, cybersecurity, food security, education, and energy. Can we talk briefly about mining and energy, especially energy?
Yes. If I could start with mining, perhaps, Pia, because that was one that I've just recently done a mining mission to Western Australia with a very high-level Filipino delegation. So Secretary Solidum from the Department of Science and Technology was there, as was the Undersecretary Tuna from the Department of Environment, Resources and Energy, Environment and Natural Resources. Sorry, I'm getting my acronyms wrong. Now, the whole thing, the whole delegation and the mission was all about showing the Philippines how Australia has developed our mining sector. And the excitement by the delegation was palpable. And we decided that there was a lot more work to be done so that there's better cooperation around the mining sector between Australia and the Philippines.
And energy?
So, and
energy.
So
Renewable
going on
energy.
to energy, I think I mentioned to you last time I saw you that we were also doing a study tour on hydrogen. So there were a number of private sector representatives as well as government officials who took part in this very important study tour on hydrogen. What that was about, Pia, is that Australia, as you know, is a big country with quite a vast amount of land, lots of sun, and lots of wind. And what we are doing with all of that is actually turning to renewable energy through solar, wind turbines, but then also investigating how the renewable energy can be stored. And more excitingly, how it can be transferred across borders. And that's where hydrogen comes in. This hydrogen technology is already well proven. So there are a number of Australian companies with huge projects. In fact, while I was in Perth, I caught up with a number of those companies, and some have renewable energy projects that will produce 25 gigawatts, and as well as 50 gigawatt scale. And they are all ready to convert that into hydrogen or green ammonia that can be transported. What that means is for a country like the Philippines, where energy is expensive and also the energy security is also something that is under pressure, that if you can convert or if you can maintain coal-fired power plants they can take green ammonia as a blend, that this can actually help you not only address climate change challenges, but with energy security as well. So that's why this is so exciting.
Yes.
I would love to work even more with the Philippines about what it is that Australia and the Philippines can do in this very important space, renewable energy,
Right.
and converting that to hydrogen and green ammonia, and how our societies can actually operate and use hydrogen and green ammonia more effectively.
Yes.
But of course, this is also an exciting story the other way around as well, Pia. We have ASEAN, who has invested into Australia, into our renewable energy sector. And so I understand that it's probably our biggest investment from a foreign investor into a renewable energy sector. And they recently did a launch of one of their projects being basically operational.
What
and I
Filipino
know that
company
our
is this,
energy
ma'am?
minister, Chris Bowen, was always also present at that launch.
What Filipino company is this, ma'am?
This is ASEAN, Ayala's energy
Ayala.
arm, the renewable energy arm.
Okay.
So they've actually made some big investments into Australia, and it's going so well. They're looking at actually also being able to scale up down the track.
But very interesting what you were
Yes.
saying. Our coal-fired power plants can be transformed into this kind of power plant that could take this kind of energy. Of course, very interesting because we do have one of the highest electricity rates in the region, if not in the world. But anyway, ma'am, well, you know, we missed out on that interview with that opportunity to interview Secretary Bebot Bello, who represents the Philippines in Taiwan, what we call MECO, the Manila Economic and Cultural Office. But because we couldn't get him, then we had more time for you so that we could speak about this whole range of issues when it comes to Philippine-Australia relations. So, Ambassador HKU, maraming salamat po. Thank you so much for being with us tonight, ma'am.
Salamat. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
We've been told before, don't talk politics at the dinner table or the family reunion or in Viber groups and risk warfare, digital or otherwise. But we can talk about it here at this table on this show. Your weekly political appointment fix, politics as usual. I'm Pia Hontiveros. See you back here next Wednesday, 8 p.m.